Full frame versus APS-C crop censored camera. The greatest debate since the Pepsi versus Coke, Mac versus Windows, the Backstreet Boys versus NSYNC. But in all seriousness, do you guys need full frame? Let's find out. Hey guys, it's me, Iamtongue, and today I just want to talk about full frame versus crop censored cameras and the mass hysteria and the mass hype that full frame camera has in the camera world. About a couple of weeks ago, I did a poll showing where I showed two similar shots of the model doing the same pose. One was shot with the full frame camera, the Sony a7 IV and the 50mm f1.2 G Master, and the other was the crop censored camera, a Fujifilm XS10 and the new 33mm f1.4. Now I shot everything wide open, so the G Master was shot at f1.2 and the Fuji was shot at f1.4, and I posted it on my social media where over 200 people voted, and I think that was a good sample size to have. What was shocking to me was how close the poll was. I thought my followers, consisting of camera users, could tell. About 103 people voted for the crop censored and 98 people voted for a full frame camera. And that gives you 51% voted for crop censored and the 49% voted for the Sony full frame camera. This wasn't a scientific test or anything like that. I deliberately made it so if you guys know what you're looking for, which is the shallow depth of field, you can tell which one is full frame. I got a mixed variety of people, some beginner photographers, some enthusiasts, some professionals partaking in this poll. So what does that tell me? In this little experience, it tells me that crop sensor is enough for you guys. Like seriously, it's more than enough for most of you guys. You guys really don't need full frame. Does full frame has its benefits? Absolutely. You obviously get shallower depth of field, that full frame look, which is that 3D pop that everyone likes so much. You also get better dynamic range, better performance in low light situations. The reason why I'm making this video was because when I first started this photography journey, I had an entry-level camera, a Canon T6i. I went through all the stages that a beginner photographer goes through. If I only had this lens, my photos would be good. If I only had this camera, I would take better photos. If I only had a full frame camera, my shots would look amazing. I've been shooting with crop censored cameras for 6 years now, and I get great results from a crop censored camera. There are many benefits in shooting with a crop censored camera. One is usually cheaper than its full frame counterpart. Two is the size. If you're someone that hates chunky and clunky gear, and the gear gets in your way, I find that the APS-C system doesn't get in your way. Sometimes having something like a full frame camera doesn't really inspire you to get out and shoot. Just think about that for a second. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm more inspired to go out to shoot with my Fujifilm XS10 than my Sony a7 IV. Why? Because of its size. Something about the smaller form factor when I'm out and about makes me pick up the Fuji over my Sony. Now, it doesn't mean that the Sony is trash. No, because the Sony takes great images, like it seriously does. One thing I do is worry that carrying around a full frame camera with a full frame lens attract attention as opposed to my XS10. Look at the size comparison. If I'm traveling and I'm documenting my travels, the Fuji is going to get less looks than the Sony. I brought my Sony a7 IV around with my 50mm f1.2 G Master to Portugal. I just saw everyone looking at me like, oh shit, this guy is a photographer. Everyone, let's just look at him and acknowledge the reason why you got a full frame camera with a 50mm f1.2 G Master lens is because you're compensating for something. But seriously, I find navigating around Portugal with my Fujifilm is a lot better. I don't get as much stares from the other tourists and locals. When I'm traveling, I'm usually taking pictures of everything, documenting everything, taking photos of what piques my interest. You know, usually you are photographing people and you want people to be in their natural state. You don't want them to feel uncomfortable and freeze up when you're taking pictures. I want it to be as candid and as natural as they can be, and having the Fujifilm XS10 around as a travel companion does make it a lot easier. Again, you don't need full frame. Would it be nice to have? Yes, sure, why not? Do we really need Lambos and Ferraris? It would be nice to have, but if it gets me from point A to point B, I'll be more than happy with just that. And you shouldn't feel bad if you don't own a full frame camera. This is not to bash people who own full frame cameras, but this is a reminder that you are good with what you have. And I hope you seeing this video and seeing my examples of shots taken with my Fujifilm inspires you too, and for you to come around and nip any full frame desire you may have in the bud. Honestly, this experiment that I did with the poles is making me second guess myself whether or not I just wasted money buying a full frame camera and lenses when I would just be fine with the Fujifilm. I wasted so much money on Sony gear. And the images are far more comparable than you may think, especially when all photos are shared through a small phone screen nowadays. You can't tell much difference. I get full frame has its place here. I think if you're delivering wedding photos, social media content to your clients, they won't be able to tell if you took your photos on a full frame camera or not, just as long as you take good photos. It doesn't matter whether it's full frame or crop, just as long as you know how to use your camera and take the best photo you can take. So to summarize, full frame has its benefits, but I hope me talking and me showing you images taken with my APS-C cameras can show you guys that having an APS camera is enough. You don't always need to upgrade to the full frame beast to get quality photos. APS-C has its own benefits as well. Smaller and compact size makes it easier to maneuver in and out of places to shoot. Attention isn't drawn onto you as much versus you shooting with a full frame camera out in public. Crop sensors are usually cheaper than its full frame counterparts. Just take a look at my Sony a7 IV and my 50mm 1.2 G Master versus my Fujifilm X-S10 and my 33mm f1.4. Very comparable. One costs $4,400 and the other combined with the body and lenses cost $1,900. Does that price difference justify buying into full frame? I know for some it is, for some it isn't. At the end of the day, it's all the ideas that comes from your head. It's you. You are taking the best photos. You are the one with the creative ideas in your head, and you are the one that is editing and that is adding your spice and flair to the image. The camera isn't doing that. The camera is just a tool. You are the director that makes this thing work. All right, guys, that's it for me. I hope you guys are... Oh, shit. My goodness. My goodness gracious. You okay? I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. All right, that is it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts down below if you agree. Personally, I think that the APS-C is more than enough. And if you guys fancy shallower depth of field, get yourself some f/0.95 lenses. You have many third-party lenses out there that makes lenses like that. This is a friendly reminder that not everyone needs full frame, so don't fall into the full frame hype. I've been doing just fine without it. Don't forget to follow me on my socials at Iamtongue. That's where you're going to see a lot more of my work. Once again, my name is Tongue, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you. Okay, bye.